Let's watch 3 videos with disturbing backstories. This is a brand new Mr. Nightmare joint that just came out yesterday. Ooh, this music. Mr. Nightmare, stop. Oh, what a beautiful shot. Hey, no problem, dude. You don't need to give me a shout out or anything. But I appreciate it.
With the username bingbong1234. But for the purpose of this video,
Bing Bong. Did he just say Bing Bong 1234?
Username bingbong1234. But for the purpose
That's
of
my
this
new
video,
Twitch name, by the way.
refer to him as Tom. It started when Tom was 8 years old, taking his dog for a walk through the neighborhood with his mom. It was a little later in the night, between
Bing
10
Bong
and
1234.
They lived next to a swampy, woodsy area on the edge of the neighborhood, which was in Lansing, Michigan. It was a very silent night except for the slight wind. Then, from down in the swamp, Tom and his mother heard somebody whistling at them. It sounded sort of like a bird, but each whistle was different enough where the lack of consistency made it human-like. The whistling would apparently fluctuate pitches, sounding higher then lower. With a concerned and slightly terrified look on her face, Tom's mother grabbed his hand and said that they should go inside the house quickly. But since this happened at a very young age, and nothing similar happened for a while...
Oh, what the hell? That looks so weird.
Until 2 years later, Tom was taking his dog out again late at night, and towards the end of the walk, Tom suddenly heard the same whistling noise again. In his words, with the same pitches and same inconsistent human-like tones coming from a bush that could easily obscure a person behind it just next to the front door. With the disturbing memory of seeing his mom equally terrified from the same whistling 2 years earlier, looking down into the swamp at something neither of them could see, he ran inside as fast as possible. Years went by again without it happening, and eventually it slipped from Tom's mind. Fast forward to the summer of 2015, when Tom was 24 and started dating his girlfriend Sarah, who he moved to South Dakota with. For Independence Day, the couple decided to go to Pierre, South Dakota and watch the fireworks along the bank of the Missouri River. The two were parked at a free camping area behind a hospital, where people were allowed to pitch their tents, hang out, and see the fireworks up the river. Tom and his girlfriend were near the very end of the campground, and there were very few, if any, people around them. The fireworks began as it started to get dark. They sat right at the edge of the river to be able to see the fireworks. A huge thunderstorm was approaching, so the air seemed electric and the wind was picking up.
Oh, stop with these sexy descriptors, man. Not what's happening is not, but just the way he's describing things. I don't mean that in an actual, like, sexual way. I mean it as in, you know, enticing, like, really well described. Like, I can picture what he's saying even if I didn't have visual reference, okay?
Eerie and unusual, as the video will display. Most of the other campers walked up the river to have a better view of the fireworks, but Sarah and Tom stayed back and were drinking beers amongst themselves and relaxing. And suddenly, the couple heard the sound of a paddle methodically dipping into the water. They saw a figure steering a canoe about 20 meters offshore. Around this time, Sarah decided to get more beers from the car,
Prototype is a great game.
alone to stare at this mysterious person. And then he heard the familiar whistle that at one point haunted his childhood. His entire body froze as he was quickly covered in goosebumps. It was the exact same whistle from his childhood, more than a decade later. Tom looked at the figure, but it was way too dark to see who it could be. The person in the canoe was wearing a hat, and when they were perpendicular to the shore from Tom, they stopped paddling, turned the canoe to face directly at him, and whistled.
What the fuck? I can't see anything, but...
Tom looked at the person and shouted, "Who are you?" which received no reply. The person just whistled a couple more times, turned the canoe, and paddled out of sight. As the canoe was almost out of sight, Tom grabbed his camera and got a shot of them whistling as they paddled away. When Sarah came back from getting the beers, she was very confused as to why Tom was so freaked out. When he explained, Sarah was also completely unnerved. Tom was under the impression that they were being followed and watched, and that they were in danger, especially if he was somehow being followed for 14 years by the same person all the way to South Dakota. This raises some big questions, such as, was it a coincidence? Why was it always the same whistling noise? And if it wasn't a coincidence, who was the person? Why did they follow Tom, and where did they go? To this day, there have been no conclusive updates on the matter, and these questions remain unanswered.
I mean, I
Emma
didn't.
Filipoff was
Another
26
state?
years old when she disappeared almost 10
Being
years.
followed to another state is one thing. Like, if you hear it and you're in the same area, that's one thing. But going to another state and still hearing it, yeah, I'd probably be freaked out too. That one gave me goosebumps just a little bit, not gonna lie. Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit when the cop was whistling. Yeah, it kind of reminds me also of Negan in The Walking Dead, the whistling that he did.
Ago, on November 28, 2012. She was described by friends and family as a beautiful, creative, and private girl. There's been an extensive investigation into Emma's disappearance ever since, but so far investigators have been unsuccessful in determining what happened to her. A surveillance video from the day Emma disappeared shows her in a 7-Eleven pacing around and cupping her hands around the glass door as she looked outside, as though she was being followed. She purchased a prepaid cell phone in the 7-Eleven despite never owning one before. Then she hesitated before leaving.
Burner phone, possibly? Oh no, she's probably being forced to get that. Yeah, it looks like she's already been kidnapped and they're forcing her to buy one. A burner phone.
The cell phone she purchased was never activated. A little later, Emma got into a taxi instructing the driver to go to the airport. She then got out of the taxi due to insufficient funds for the fare. She was last seen between the times of 7:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., acting strangely in front of the Empress Hotel. According to a witness, Emma seemed confused. He saw her at a crosswalk, refusing to cross the street. He asked her if she was feeling okay, and asked her if she was being followed due to her paranoid mannerisms.
That is Sanji. Oh yeah, where's Doflamingo in the Discord? Where is this man? Put it in general. Oh my god, what the, okay, that's a Lost Ark boss. I was like, what the hell? Oh, okay, this guy. Dude, he's got a fucking six-pack though. Kind of Chad looking. Most viewed video on the channel is the creepy video. I'm not surprised, Mag. That tends to be how things go on the tube of you. What the fuck? That scared me. Dash cam footage. Now that'd be a great video to watch. Bum 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 no 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 no. 31 views. Let's go, baby. Anyways.
Emma said she was okay. So, not knowing what to do, he made a phone call to the police. Police showed up and found her shoeless, and they questioned her for a total of 45 minutes and then left. Investigators later found her vehicle the following morning, parked at the Chateau Victoria parking lot, containing all of her belongings, including her laptop, books, her passport, and library card. Investigators found a CCTV footage clip from a local YMCA 5 days before Emma went missing. In the clip, she walked in and out through the door 6 times, peering out through the glass.
That is curious, Mag. Very curious. Maybe if I was a speedrunner of that game, it would get views, but I just, in general, even when it came out, I don't think it was a very popular game. So, okay, my theory of this, okay, so she's in the YMCA looking out, waiting for somebody. So my guess is she was basically just trying to get out of where she lived. I don't know why, but I mean, her rushing to the airport seems to be the case. Maybe she was already in a bad situation, maybe in debt or something, and she was trying to just get out of there. I don't know.
One possible person of interest is in CCTV footage from a Vancouver store. The 2014 surveillance video shows a man in a Gastown clothing store holding a purple poster in his right hand. The store owner reported that the man was irritated and claiming Emma was his girlfriend and that she wanted to be left alone. Police have not yet been able to identify him.
Definitely looks like a soy boy, though.
The footage you're about to watch was of an episode of the old game show The Dating Game, and on the surface it seems...
Why does Ganon hate the internet? Too many links? Anyways.
All the contestants seem to be regular people you'd expect to see in a typical cheap...
I couldn't hold it.
Easy 19... and his
You gotta
name
cheat.
was Rodney Alcala, a serial killer who victimized up to 130 women.
Please cut that
This
out.
was part of the episode.
Baxter number one is a successful photographer who got his start when his father found him in the dark room at the age of 13, fully developed. Between takes, he might find him skydiving or motorcycling. Please welcome Rodney Alcala.
What?
Rod, welcome.
He was introduced as Bachelor Number One, a successful photographer who enjoyed skydiving and motorcycling in his spare time.
A Bachelor Number One, I am serving you for dinner.
Oh.
What are you called, and what do you look like?
I'm called the Banana, and I look really good.
What the fuck?
Can you be a little more descriptive?
Peel me.
With his suggestive quips and impressions, he won the contest, scoring a date with the Bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw. But in the years that followed his appearance on the show, Alcala would come to be known as the dating game killer.
Will that date be Bachelor number one, Bachelor number two, or Bachelor number three? Who gets the dates?
Well, I like bananas, so I'll take one.
Number one, Bachelor number one, all right. He's a skydiver, so he's got a lot of nerve. He's into motorcycling. He's also a fine photographer. Say hello to Rodney Alcala. Rodney, come on, say hello.
He was convicted of the murders of 6 women and a 12-year-old girl, with
Holy
some of the
shit.
crimes being committed before his TV appearance. Investigators estimated his victims could be as many as 130.
What?
Alcala died at age
Oh my god.
77 while on death row. He committed his first known crime on September 25th, 1968, when an eyewitness in Los Angeles called police after watching him lure an 8-year-old girl named Tali Shapiro into his apartment. Tali was walking to school when Alcala offered her a ride, but he took her to his apartment instead. When the police arrived, the girl was found alive, but Alcala had fled. To evade the resulting arrest warrant, he left the state and enrolled in the NYU Film School, using the name John Berger. With his good looks and charm, he persuaded many young women to pose in photographs for him, most of whom are presumed to have been victims of his, and apparently a lot of them remain unidentified. In fact, you can easily find these pictures online. In 1971, he obtained a counseling job at a New Hampshire arts camp for children. The FBI added Alcala to its list of 10 most wanted fugitives, and a few months later, 2 children attending the arts camp noticed his photo on an FBI poster at the post office. Alcala was arrested and extradited to California. He only served 3 years in prison for this crime, because Shapiro's family had relocated to Mexico, and her parents refused to have her testify at the trial. The years following, he would be in and out of jail, and the list of his victims would grow longer and longer. Somehow, Alcala was able to make it on the dating show despite his criminal history, and of course his record went unmentioned during his appearance. After Cheryl Bradshaw chose Rodney Alcala, the two were awarded tennis lessons, complete with outfits, and a trip to Magic Mountain theme park.
First, you'll receive tennis lessons from expert Naomi Besa of the famous Kirkwood Tennis Club. That starts.
The two were then escorted to a place where the show would allow the match to talk and get to know each other. And it was during this time that Cheryl Bradshaw started to get a bad feeling about Rodney overall, describing him as creepy and weird. The arranged date after the show never happened because Bradshaw called the show's office after filming and told the contestant coordinator that she didn't want to go because of the weird vibes that came off of him.
She said, "Ellen, I can't go out with this guy. There's weird vibes that are coming off of him. He's very strange. I'm not comfortable."
Oh my God.
Problem. And of course I said no.
Rodney Alcala's DNA would later link him to the deaths of multiple other women. In 2010, he was convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death, but after New York City investigators began probing his potential ties to unsolved killings in the city in the 1970s,
Your internet's giving up.
He was also charged for the murders of 2 more women, which he pleaded guilty to. The actual amount of disappearances and murders that Rodney is responsible for remain unknown. It's crazy to think how Cheryl Bradshaw's gut instincts that something was off about Rodney and her refusal to go through with their date probably saved her life.
Jesus, man. Yeah, I would cut this. I would just cut that last segment out. The rest of it's okay, but... Not 911 calls. I can't do those. Ice cream truck stories, huh? Okay, well that obviously wouldn't fly. Walmart stories. Let's go. Let's go. As a former Walmart employee, let's go. Oh no, for sure. Cut that out.
My name is Samantha. I'm 20 years old and I work at a Walmart by a small town called Jackson in Alabama. Since I don't go to school full time.
Oh god. Well, two precursors that I'm already very scared of. Walmart and Walmart in the South.
My boss would oftentimes put me on an overnight shift, back when the store was open 24 hours a day. Given that it was a supercenter, there would still be a number of employees working. My shift this one particular night was 10 p.m. to 7 a.m.
I worked that shift. I worked that shift for years. I did that shift for years.
I was one of only a couple employees doing stock work, and there was 1 or 2 employees at registers up front.
Yep, a skeleton crew,
Given
they
that
called
our
it.
store sits in the countryside of Alabama, we didn't really get much business at these insane hours of the night. However, it was a prime restocking period.
Oh my god, the memories, dude. Oh my god. They would just, they'd throw you to an aisle, and they would just say, this is your aisle, and you'd have like 6 gigantic, like fully stocked carts worth of shit that you'd have to stock, and a couple of pallets full as well. And they would just say, you have all night to stock this and zone the aisle, which is like pulling everything forward, kind of like these macaroni boxes here. They would want the whole aisle to look clean like this. Like you would organize it, pull it to the front, and just make it look good.
I didn't personally know the other employees working that night, but it's not like we'd run into each other in the giant store anyway.
Oh god.
I started my night folding pants in the men's department and generally tidying up. I kept headphones in at night because usually there would be no one to tell me to take them out.
Same. I relate to this story.
To the jeans section, and
hey, Sarah, whoever told this story, Sarah, I feel you on a spiritual level right now because everything you're saying so far, I know and have done.
That time it was around 11:30 p.m.
Small world, Meg.
So it wasn't really that weird.
God, I had a bubble in my throat. Sorry.
People would still come in and close shop till usually around midnight. The customer came up to me and asked me if we had any more of the specific pants he found in a different waist size. I apologized and told him only whatever
Did you hear
was
that?
on the rack.
My chair was squeaking really loud.
He thanked me and walked away. I made accidental eye contact with him as soon as he stood by the rack.
Wait, I'm not paying attention.
We had any more of the specific pants he found in a different waist size. I apologized and told him only whatever was on the rack.
Okay.
He thanked me and walked away. I made accidental eye contact with him as soon as he stood.
You're a little creeped now. Why? Your bruv seems like a really cool guy. For real, Flo. What's up, by the way?
By the rack.
Hey, if you're down to play later, I am too. I just hope they don't fucking copy strike me this time.
Putting the jeans back. It was kind of awkward. He walked away, and I continued with my work. Some time passed, and the store started to look like a ghost town. No one to be seen as far as the eye could see. I think it was like 1 a.m.
Housewares.
I made my way over to the appliances section. I was doing a lot of back and forth work with boxes from the back section where we kept all the items that were yet to go out. I brought a wagon full of boxes to one of the aisles. And
a wagon. Oh my god, the wagons, dude. The L carts.
The shelves were empty though.
They used to, if you've ever gone to a Walmart and they called a code 43, a code 43 means there's a customer in customer service that needs you to grab a big cart and take like a TV or something really heavy out to their car. Dude, I'm having a fucking, and they used to call them wagons. I never called them wagons, but the older people tended to. We always called them L carts because they were just a big handle and then it was in an L shape where you could put the stuff on and like strap it on just to make sure it didn't fall over.
See someone through the next aisle over, and they were watching me. Well, only up until he noticed me notice him. Then he looked away. But his eyes looked really familiar.
We do. We lose an hour tonight.
And I realized it was the same customer from like 2 hours earlier. How in the world could he still be in the store? Without making it obvious, I took the wagon with me and passed the next aisle over just to get a look and see if the man had any items in his hands.
And oh my god, the worst injury I've ever had Black Friday, this crazed older lady that wanted discounted towels shoved into one of those L carts and it went right into my Achilles on my right foot, and it was like my soul left my body, dude. It was so fucking painful. And I went to the break room and it literally just broke through the skin. Like I could basically see the Achilles tendon underneath the skin. It was that fucking bad. And it hurt for like weeks and weeks and weeks.
Hands were completely...
I had to work on that shit too, because I couldn't miss work. I mean, I couldn't afford to miss that shit. So...
empty. No way...
yeah, they had medical people on staff. They always did on Black Friday just in case, and basically they just packaged it a little bit and then they wrapped it, and then when I came back in a couple days they looked at it again and it was sealed up. So since it was sealed up and they didn't see any, you know, scar tissue anywhere, they basically was like, they told me, they were like, it's your call. They were like, if you want to work you can, if you don't want to you don't have to. I also was behind the baler once and hit my head so hard that I got a huge gash on it and blood went everywhere. Like my head blood was all over the baler. Which is that thing that like crushes the cardboard and makes it into the perfect compact rectangles that they then take to the recycling center. Oh, they would, no, dude, that would cost money. They wouldn't do that. They were worried I had a concussion on that one. But they sanitized the fuck out of the baler and then it was fine. But I was just trying to rush really hard and I didn't even realize how hard I hit my head. But I was fine. They watched me for a while. They like put a flashlight in my eyes and different things like that. And they asked me if I was okay and I said yeah. And they were really worried about me driving home. But thankfully I had a really cool boss at the time and he actually called me once I got home just to make sure I was still all right. Shout outs to Bobby. You know who you are. You know where you are. Shout outs to Bobby.
Could he be shopping for 2 hours and not pick up a single thing? Something wasn't right. I quickly finished up restocking the shelf with coffee machines and other appliances, then brought the empty wagon to the back area. I chilled out in there for a while because, quite frankly, I felt like that guy might have been following or watching me longer than I realized. I played on my phone for a little while in the employee lounge. Then when I figured it was time to get back to work, I decided I would do grocery work instead, just to be in a different part of the store. I went into the dairy cooler and filled a bunch of crates with dairy products like milk and yogurts. This took a lot of time to do because I had to check the dates on the products and such. Over the loud sound of the giant refrigerators keeping the cooler cold.
Oh, that dude, the nostalgia overload is unbelievable right now. When the pallets came in and they did this, they would come out and they would pull us from wherever we were working and they'd be like, we have a problem. And they're like, you got to cut the plastic, you got to downstack everything and organize it. Whenever this happened, because if the shelves were blocked off, it was like an OSHA violation. Dude.
First open. There was conveniently
for sure, Dr. Renna,
sitting on one of the pallets that allowed me to peek through it to the door of the cooler. And I shit you not, it was that same customer. I ran to cover under one of the shelves and pushed a big box full of eggs in front of me. I didn't have to worry about making noise because the refrigerators were so loud.
Yep, very loud.
For anyone wondering why I decided to hide, well, I already assumed this guy was hanging around the store watching me. Seeing him in the employees only section, never mind that, coming into the dairy cooler, seemingly something bad was definitely about to go down. I hid behind that box with my head down for the longest time, expecting to hear the doors to the cooler open and close eventually. After a while of hiding and not looking, I assumed maybe he left after looking for me.
This is very scary, actually.
I lifted my head from my arms for the first time and looked up in front of the box and screamed. He was right there, smiling at me, standing over the box. But his smile vanished as soon as I started to scream. He tried putting his hand on my lips to muffle my scream, but I didn't allow that to go any further. I pushed the box of eggs over, right into him, and the eggs falling to the floor made him step back, looking down at his shoes. I ran right past him, but he didn't grab me, so I continued to run till I found another stock worker and told him to help me. The employee's name was Bob, I remember from his name tag.
Bob, let's go. Bobby and Bob, the real fucking OGs. Do you have any advantages / discounts when it comes to work? Yeah, they give you a small discount. I don't think I can disclose what it is, but they give you an employee discount.
Suddenly, the man from the dairy cooler came up to the two of us and apologized, explaining that he was from corporate and was coming to make sure everything was running smoothly. He said he didn't mean to scare me and was simply checking up on me in the dairy cooler to make sure I wasn't slacking off.
Dude, you have to say that. They would do that quite a bit, but dude, they need to fucking chill.
This Bob guy seemed to believe it all, but then again, he didn't seem very smart at all. I asked the man why he put his hand on my mouth, and he said he was trying to avoid making a scene. Then, shockingly, he gave me the order to finish up the appliance section, and he disappeared. As he was speed walking away down the aisle, I called out, "What's your name?" And he called back, "Tom." And just like that, he was gone.
There was no Tom.
The next day, I called one of the managers and asked if
Yeah,
there was
it's not
supposed
that
to
good,
be a
man.
visit from corporate the night before, and if a creepy man named Tom sounded familiar. My manager, Margaret, said it sounded like complete bullshit. There was no record of anyone from corporate named Tom who was supposed to come visit, nor would anyone from corporate ever be in the store at 2 a.m. They then went ahead and checked the camera footage, and a police report was filed when they realized this was a random man, and the cameras proved this man had been stalking me between the aisles for the better part of the first few hours of my shift. I told Margaret I couldn't do night shifts anymore after that, and she understood. I still work there, but more so as a day stock person than a
Yep.
cashier.
Hell yeah, safer. Dude, we had so much theft overnight as well. Oh my god.
What's one place you can go to and find the weirdest, freakiest creatures in our society?
Creatures? Why you gotta call them
I've never been
creatures?
to a single Walmart where I didn't see at least one eye-catchingly strange human being. Strange does not even cut it for what I'm about to tell you. It was the Thursday before Black Friday.
Oh, Jesus.
My Walmart was open extra late. I was in there around 11 o'clock.
So many Black
looking for a
Friday
new
stories, dude.
laptop. And by chance, I picked up off the shelf the last one that was being promoted.
When did I work there? I started when I was 19, so about 2014. And I stopped November or December of 2018. So about 4 years off and on. Yeah. No, it wasn't off and on. It was just 4 years. Yeah. So I didn't end up staying there too super long. 4 years was probably a bit too much, but yeah, I have many stories. But at the same time, I'm also very thankful for it, because I came in at age 19 and I thought I knew everything and I didn't want to listen to authority. And again, with Bobby and a couple other of my managers, they really wanted me to become like a reliable employee and just a general good person to work with. So they were very honest with me. Heck, one of my managers, shout outs to Denise, she told me that if it were her decision, she would have fired me for my attitude alone, and that she was fed up with me. This was when I was like 20. I had just turned 20. She's like, "I'm fed up with your attitude. I hate it." She's like, "You know better. And if it were up to me, I would have had you fired already." And she was the nicest lady ever. So knowing that I made her that pissed off, I was like, damn, I guess I got to fix my behavior. And I started to slowly. So Walmart actually did a lot for me in terms of helping me become a lot more understanding and just a good, teammate in general. I was pretty bad back then. I really was. And I was hanging out with all the wrong people. So shout outs to Denise. She helped get me on the straight and narrow. And that job really helped get me on the right track in life. So, yeah, I was just a little bastard. Like I would roll my eyes when people would tell me what to do, and I wouldn't listen, and I would purposely do the opposite of what they told me just because I thought it was cool to be rebellious and just dumb shit. I would show up for work late, and when people would try to tell me that they didn't want me to show up late anymore, I'd roll my fucking eyes, and it's like, dude, I was a problem. I was a fucking stupid problem back then. But then when Denise told me that, I took a step back and I was like, wow, I guess I don't realize how bad it is, because she was known as being like the nicest manager you could ever have, and never got that upset with people. So the fact that she did with me, I was like, damn, I really got to fix my behavior. A teddy bear. And Bridget still went out with me. Me and her started dating like mid 2015. So
Really good Black Friday deal.
she likes bad boys. Well, I do know that she likes skaters. I don't know about the bad boys part.
As I grabbed it though, some big, revolting, dirty-looking guy comes up to me and insists he needs a laptop very badly. I nervously said I'm sorry, it's the last one. Then he got angry at me and started making a bit of a scene. The man clearly wasn't normal, and my heart started racing simply because I don't get put on guard in these kinds of situations a lot. As others looked on at the commotion this big guy was making, I walked away with the laptop box quickly and went straight to a line. He kept yelling at me as I walked away. It was unbelievable. Some other customers on the line even tried to laugh with me and make me feel better, saying the guy was a nut.
It doesn't help.
I get home. My family's all asleep already. I go outside to sit in the yard by the pool and set up my new laptop. Then the light on the side of the house turned on. The one that turns on due to movement.
What? This guy followed him?
Went to check
Oh
the
my
side of
god.
the house to make sure no one was there. Would that thing go off once in a while? Yeah, but there's a small patch of woods right next to the house, so animals would often run on the property, triggering it. Either way, I'm kind of a big pussy, so I went inside, locked the door, and finished setting up my laptop in the living room. A car alarm suddenly started going off.
Going to the computer section, playing Goldeneye, screaming, "Look at the fucking pace!" Is your tooth feeling better, freak? Is it feeling any better?
Outside. I recognized it to be my Cadillac. I looked out the window to confirm this. I ran to get my keys upstairs, then tried pressing the panic button to turn off the alarm. It
No.
didn't work from the inside, so I stepped out to the porch and clicked it off. But then I noticed a car parked in front of our house that wasn't there earlier when I got home. And any cars parked in the street on our block was suspicious enough. We live in a closed-off community, and everyone has huge driveways. I stepped down from the stoop and realized there was someone sitting in that car. I went back inside and locked the door. I went to my mom's room and told her I think someone outside means us harm. My mom and dad have a complicated situation, so my dad doesn't always stay with us. It would have been a different story having my dad there to tell about this. My mom came downstairs with me, noticeably worried based on what I told her. My mom took a look through the peephole in the front door, then gasped and put her hands over her mouth.
He's right
I
there.
looked through it as
Oh
well,
god.
and felt ready to throw up when I saw a huge man standing on the other side of the door on our stoop. I whispered to my mom, I think that man followed me from Walmart.
Wow. All over a
Suddenly,
fucking
the doorknob
laptop.
started to turn as the man tried opening the door. When it didn't work, he started pounding on the door. That's when my mom let out a gasp and cry, and my younger sister came out from her room, who also started to panic when becoming wise to the situation. The pounding stopped. Then there was a silence for a while, other than my mom's voice on the phone with the police. A few minutes went by, my mom still on the line with 911 with police en route, and there was a loud bang and crash downstairs in the den. A window was shattered. My mom and sister both screamed and cried. I told them to run upstairs while I locked the door to the den. I waited down there, expecting an attempt at the door or a bang. Nothing. Surprisingly, I heard a police car briefly wail its siren outside my house. It was the quickest response time I'd ever heard of. I ran outside to lead them to the den where the broken glass was. There, they found the huge, dirty, crazy-looking man hiding behind one of our couches.
What?
He was arrested at once, and we pressed charges. All the while, he was screaming profanities and threats at me, not helping his case. Both cops told me the guy seemed unstable and on some kind of drugs, but told us to get a good night's rest because he wouldn't be bothering us again. So while it may be fun to people watch at Walmart and laugh at some of the goofy things you see, realize you may also find some of the more dangerous people in our society in your local Walmart.
True. So true. Scary people. It's okay, Dr. Ed.
Working the night shift at Walmart.
Night
is a
shift
mixed
again. You guys don't understand. Mag, you probably understand, but I cannot make it clear enough how scary this shift can be.
on the weekends was my second job when I was finishing up college. I needed to pay off my loans, so I had to make money however possible. I didn't deal with customers or anything. I would just sign for night deliveries, do warehouse work, and stock shelves in the store during after hours. The typical shift would usually be either 11 to 7 or a 12 to 7. On July 9th, 2015, a Thursday night, I still have it locked into my brain. I was midway through my shift in the electronics department when I saw in the corner of my eye someone walk past the aisle I was working in. This wouldn't usually catch my attention if it weren't for the fact that there were only 2 other workers in the building with me that night, Alvin and Baco. They were both wearing the same staff shirts I was wearing. I would know because we all clocked in at the same time.
Mag, I would literally, when this shift, if girls would go on lunch, they would ask me or some other guys to walk out with them. That's how scary it was. Yeah, like basically what you were talking about. And also, when we were in office, my current job, but when we were in office a couple of years ago, would be the same, because they would leave at like, we would leave at like 9 p.m. when it would be dark outside, and I'd be leaving, and just any girl on the team would just come over and be like, do you care to walk out with me to my car? Because it was scary, dude. Like the fucking street lights were just out, and you never knew what was going to happen, so it's fucking crazy, man.
The person I saw in the corner of my eye was wearing all black.
Yeah, you can't trust anybody.
I walked to the end of the aisle and did a little peep around the shelf. No one was there. I yelled both Alvin and Baco's names, so when they didn't answer, it made it even stranger. But regardless, I went back to work. I was holding in a pee for a while, and I told myself I'd go when I finished work in that aisle. Seconds later, there was a huge crash a few aisles down.
Night shift at a paper printing place that wasn't spooky. Retail. Oh yeah, retail is the issue.
To see what it was, and a bicycle was somehow knocked off its hook. The hook was still fine and in place. It seemed like someone would have had to put effort into knocking this down. I hung it back up and started walking around the aisles, suspicious as hell. I got to the last aisle towards the back of the store, which was the paper and cleaning aisle. Then there was this freaky-ass sound that I could best describe as a laugh. It sounded like it came from literally the next aisle over. So once again, I did a short run back to that aisle and felt my heart drop when I saw a man dressed in all black, waiting by the end of the aisle with his back facing me, but his head turned so that all I saw was only half his face. Then he suddenly ran, not towards me, but down some other aisle.
I wasn't going to say that, Mag. I wasn't going to call you that. We had a situation where a homeless guy was on the bench next to our customer service, and our manager, same manager Denise, was nice enough to give him like $60 and some clothes. He took that $60, went straight over to the liquor store and bought like 1 bottle of whiskey, and then left the clothes that she gave him. Some people don't want to be helped.
Running around. I was faced with a choice of chasing after him or going to find my 2 co-workers, and I chose the latter. All the while, I heard these freakish laughing sounds and footsteps.
But yes, let me just say, Denise, one of the best people I've ever met. Very fortunate to have had her in my life to set me straight. And yes, love Denise. Denise is a very important part of both of our lives, and I've kept in touch with her. So thank God. That's, I tell you all the time, I feel like things happen for a reason. Me running into Denise and having her kind of, be honest with me and tell me where I was going wrong at that time in my life was so important, because I really thought I knew best. So shout outs, where you are. Very, very important to have met her. Great lady.
Felt like were circling me. I found Alvin in the women's department and told him to be on the lookout for someone who wasn't meant to be in the building dressed in all black. We didn't have walkie-talkies, so I asked him to tell Baco if he ran into him. I excused myself because I couldn't hold it any longer. I had to go to the bathroom. I ran to the employees-only bathroom, which was in the warehouse section. I put a nest of toilet paper on the seat in one of the stalls and sat down. And yes, I'm the kind of person to sit when I pee. The door to the bathroom opened and closed. Naturally, with 3 to 4 people in the building, I said, "Who is that?" And with no answer, I assumed the worst.
Oh, God.
I heard that horrific laughing again, and someone stepped into view from between the crack in the door.
Oh, my God.
Looking right in, they stepped closer until the crack was completely covered, and all I saw of their face was an eye. Then the whispering began. Unintelligible whispering, but the echo from the bathroom just made it more unsettling. I just remembered I had Alvin's phone number saved on my phone, so I got it out and called him at once. I was very loud with what I was saying, telling Alvin to get to the bathroom at once and help me. I stayed on the line with him and watched as the man on the other side of the stall laughed one more time, then ran out of the bathroom.
Never caught him, I bet.
To hurry, and 20 to 30 seconds later, Alvin entered the bathroom. He said he didn't see anyone on his way there. We didn't have any security guys working when the store was closed, so we couldn't even go look at the cameras. I stayed by Alvin the rest of the night, helping in whatever sections he was working in, because safety in numbers. I texted my boss that night, and when I woke up at 3 p.m. the next day, I read his response. He said all the camera screens returned static footage from the night before. Nobody went and turned them off as far as he knew. I got chills reading his texts. He believed my story and assumed it was related to the cameras, but with no video proof of a breaking and entering or trespassing, I don't think there was anything he could do. It was all above my pay grade, though. That was the only night shift I've ever had where something truly unexplainable happened.
I don't know if I 100% believe that. Just because there's actually 2 types of security cameras. So they probably just didn't want to scare them, and that might be their answer. But like if something like that happened, one of the 2 types of cameras would have caught it. They're actually backup cameras in case the store internet's out. You guys want to know about a couple of scary stories I've got with Walmart overnight? I'll tell them. I'm not too good of a storyteller, but we can go into it anyway. Okay. So the first one actually is a bit more personal than these because I kind of knew who this person was, but not really. So I dated this girl, this scene girl, and horrible breakup. I've detailed the story of this many times. But apparently, her new boyfriend came to the store with the intentions of slashing my tires. Luckily, my car battery was actually dead, so I had somebody drop me off. I had one of my coworkers pick me up that night. And yeah, he was apparently like looking all around the store for me, and I just so happened to be working in the back for like the 30 minutes that he was there. And from what one of my other friends told me, he actually had a switchblade, and he may have tried to stab me or whatever else, because he was like, he had a criminal record and everything. So yeah, that was cool. And yeah, but they told me, like, a bunch of people were like, do you know this guy? Because he was asking like where you were. We thought he was your friend. And I was like, no, that he's not my friend. And thankfully, yeah, I just got extremely lucky. I just happened to be working in the back for like 2 hours, which is actually pretty rare overnight. But I guess he got tired of looking and just assumed I wasn't working that night. Thankfully, none of my friends told him. None of my coworkers, I mean. Then he actually resurfaced a couple months later, and from what I understood, he wasn't dating the girl anymore, nor was he looking for me. He actually grabbed 3 cans of compressed air, and he went into the men's bathroom and started inhaling it. And I don't know what, it was something to do with his shoe. Like he was spraying it into his shoe and then inhaling it or something. I don't know what the fuck. So one of our maintenance guys that went in there to try to clean the bathroom heard this going on, and he saw him like rotating the cans of air, and he called the police, obviously, or he got in touch with our management. So they called the cops. The cops showed up, and I remember because they had us standing outside just in case he tried anything, because I had to piss, but I could not go into the men's bathroom, so they just had me go in the women's bathroom. Not that it fucking mattered, but anyways, we couldn't go in there because you don't know what he's gonna try to do. So she killed her family? What the fuck? What the fuck? What year was this? How young? Yeah, whippets, I guess. I don't know what that means, but Anyways, I just remember the cops walking in there and just being like, "You're caught." Like the cop was just like, "Son, you're caught. You might as well just come out now." And they started asking him if he had any sharp objects or anything. And then as they were walking him out, he fucking looked right at me, like made direct eye contact with me and just fucking smirked as they were taking him out, dude. I got shot at once when I was younger, about 9 or 10, catching crawdads out of the creek and went up further than I should have. And an old drunk guy came out with a gun cussing, thinking someone was trying to rob him and started shooting. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, I know, because you have no idea what's happening. I have a kind of similar story. When I first started dating Bridget, she lived in this house that was like up a really precarious hill, and it was all these houses that were like timeshares basically. So mainly people only used them when they were on vacation. Well, it was really rainy / muddy that day, and I was trying to park next to her place, but I couldn't find a good spot because there was so much fucking mud everywhere. And my car got stuck. Like my original 94 Thunderbird got stuck. And I was gonna get out and ask for help, and I just heard this lady out of nowhere scream, "Don't come any closer." And she had a fucking shotgun like by her hip, and she was like screaming, "Don't come any closer" to me. And then, thank God, her husband came out and he was like telling her to go back inside and everything else, but got the gun from her, put it up. And then he came out and he helped me. He was a saint. Like, he helped me chain up my car and like attach it to some solid metal, and he pulled the car out, and he told me a good spot to park and everything. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry about my wife. She's had a bad day." I was like, "Dude, that's not a fucking bad day. You don't just like prepare to shoot somebody with a shotgun on a bad day." Yeah, like, thankfully her husband was all there, but Jesus Christ, his wife was fucking psychotic that day. I don't know what happened. Like, I'm not gonna judge because I don't know what happened to her that day. Maybe she did have some like horrendous news and was just on the edge. But yeah, that was the most scared I've ever been. Like, I straight up froze whenever that happened because you don't know. Like, you don't know who these people are. Maybe they would just start fucking shooting, you know? Shit was fucking scary. And it's the South. Like, everybody has guns in the fucking hills of the South, you know? And you never know how willing they're going to be to use them. Another one was in my hometown. I was playing basketball at our city park, which I love to do all the time. And these two guys that were like, they smelled really strongly of pot, which I'm not going to judge. It's just fucking pot, but it's not legal here. They smelled really strongly of pot, and they were just like, they weren't even asking me about basketball. They were just asking me all these personal questions like, "Oh, is my family from here? Do I go to school here?" And I eventually got to the point I was like, "Dude, I was like, I'm sorry." I remember I told the one guy, I was like, "I don't know you." And I even tried to joke. I was like, "Not that I don't trust you, but I kind of don't." And then I just kind of laughed, and they were just like, they just looked and they were like, "Okay." And then one of the other guys out of nowhere is like, "So can you give us a ride to the library?" Just out of nowhere. And I was like, nah, don't think I'm going to be able to do that for you, bro. And he goes, "Oh, come on." Like, and it was getting really awkward. Like, he was just trying his best to convince me to drive him to the library. And I was like, and I eventually was like, "Dude," I took a few steps back and I was like, "I have 911 pressed in my phone right now. If you don't stop, I will call them." What's up, Dr. Grimm? And then they immediately changed their tune. They're like, "Oh, no, don't do that, bro. Don't do that. No. And one guy's like, "I got warrants. You can't do that, dude." And then they're just like, "Come on, dude, let's get out of here." And then they fucking left. It's like, dude, if they would have reacted the way that I thought they would have reacted, which is probably just like punch the shit out of me and take my phone or something, who knows what could have happened. Like, they could have stole my car and everything. Yeah, it's like they were trying to get me in my car so I could start the engine up, and then they could fucking knock me out of it probably and then steal my car. I don't know what they were trying, dude. I don't know what the fuck they were trying, but it was scary. Like, that situation was out of hand. And of course, it was like early morning, because I would always go after I was finished with my shift at Walmart. So I went to the city park and I would shoot from like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and no fucking body would be there whatsoever. So I would just go there. I'd bring like a couple basketballs. I'd put in my headphones and I'd just shoot for hours and hours and hours, and nobody would ever really bother me. That was the only time I ever had people just show up and start talking to me. Now, something else that was scary is they always had people that were in the county jail doing community service. And I caught one of them trying to steal money out of my wallet one time. I went to get a Gatorade out of a vending machine, and when I came back, one of the dudes wearing the orange shirt that said community service had like picked up my wallet, and I looked at him and I just went, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm sorry, man. He's like, I'm sorry. I got to do better. I got to do better. And then he just runs away. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Leave my shit alone, dude. You're already in the county jail. You could do much worse. Like, it's probably not a good idea to be stealing from people when you're out doing community service. I do not right now, Freak, but I would like to. You know as much as I do. It's pretty easy to in this state. Coffee. Have my license to own but can't afford to own. You're a streamer who doesn't exactly toe the line. What do you mean? What do you mean, Dr. Grimm? Is that in a good way or a bad way? I don't mind if it's in a bad way. I just don't know. Exactly, Free. No, I agree with you, man. Like, I'm not a gun nut per se. Like I'm saying, like I don't think I need a fucking rack of guns just full of them. I just want one, either 9mm or something like that, maybe even a 22 pistol of some kind, just enough to defend myself if shit goes down, and I'll just keep it in a safe that's like arm's reach away from my bed. It won't go under my fucking pillow or anything. I just feel like the response time of police is not enough to help you if you're in that deep of a situation. You don't talk a certain way. Oh, so you mean I don't like fall in line with the rest of other streamers? Well, I'll take that as a huge compliment. You know, if someone decides that they're gonna kick in my front door and it wakes me up, I don't have time to call the police, detail the situation, wait 15-20 minutes for them to show up. My apartment is so small, they would track me down in less than 10 seconds. I'd be dead by the time the cops even warmed the fucking engines up. Yeah? Be careful what we say. Well, I don't think what I'm saying is not sensible. I think what I'm saying is perfectly sensible. I don't trust the police to get here fast enough to save my life if the chips are down, you know what I'm saying? Want to get a Benelli M4 for home defense? I'm going to sell HT800S to afford it. Well, my dad lives in like the hills, like fucking the boonies, as they would say. And he owns a lot of guns. Like, he's got a shotgun and he's got a fucking bullpup, like semi-auto rifle, and he's got a few pistols and everything, but he won't let me have any of them. Like, not the rifles and shit, but he won't let me have any of the pistols. Yeah, I mean, I went to my dad's place and we shot shotguns together. He likes to set up targets and shoot at them and stuff. Response time isn't fast enough to get there before the suspect gets to you. Exactly, yeah. It's going to take them 10-15 minutes to get to you depending on where they are. And I don't trust that response time to save my life if the chips are down, you know what I mean? Nickel with the opal grips. Oh, the gun Dean Winchester uses. Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, I don't think what I'm saying is there's any, you know, maybe there's some people. Like, I'll hear this argument sometimes. I hear this argument sometimes that people are like, guns are for the cops. You don't need to own a gun, only the cops need a gun. It's like, dude, they're not going to get here in time to save my ass. They're just not going to. I've had to call the police a few times in my area. It takes them 15 minutes to show up. So what am I supposed to do? Have a sixth sense that tells me, oh, in roughly 12.5 minutes, someone is going to break into my house, and I better go ahead and pre-call the police so that by the time my life is in danger, they may actually be here. Sorry, no. I'll at that point, I'll just go ahead and take matters into my own hands. I'll be safe about it. I'm a big proponent of safe gun usage. Huge proponent of it. I'll take classes, you know, I'll get my concealed carry and stuff like that. And I'll keep it in a safe. Absolutely. I would keep it in a locked safe at all times. Zero access to it whatsoever until I need it. But that's the thing. I mean, there's too much at stake. If somebody breaks into your house, man, like, you have to be prepared. The stock laws are fucking them. I mean, I worked with this guy. This guy and his wife, they were like huge gun people. I wouldn't say gun nuts, but they always loved to like shoot. They would do skeet shooting and stuff and shoot clay pigeons, and they would do target practice all the time. I would get done working with this guy. He would go out to his car. Him and his wife both had Glocks in their car. And they would both put their straps on. And they would put the Glocks on. And then they would go shopping. In the same store we just worked at. It's like, Jesus, man. What do you think is going to go down at Walmart at fucking 8 a.m.? 5 of the creepiest unsolved mysteries. Let's start here. Let's start here. Also, you guys prefer my camera to be up here or lower, where it normally is? Because I can put it back to its original position if you would like. I'm an agent of the people. Up? You guys like it here better? Lower. If you guys are Futurama fans, lower. Lower. Too low! Lower. Classic. Is that Brannigan?
Kevin Wynn, who is
middle. You know what, Freak? You're the kind of guy who's like, when you go to a party or something and they're like, there's hot and cold drinks. Then Freak just chimes in and he's like, excuse me, what about lukewarm drinks? Did anybody think to get lukewarm drinks? I'm just kidding, man. I'm sorry. I'm being an asshole tonight. All right, you guys ready? Get into it.
25 at the time, went missing in the early hours of December 9th, 2018. His family said he was kicked out of a bar called the Brass Rail on Broadway after an altercation, and that's the last they've seen or heard from him. Family, friends, and strangers have been hoping to find him or hear from him ever since. The following Sunday, nearly 150 volunteers and family members gathered at Lakeside Park to continue the search.
Monkey, that funky monkey.
The family searched the banks of the St. Joseph and St. Mary's rivers, and also the area around the Brass Rail. The following Thursday, they found his glasses broken in the parking lot of the bar.
No, that does not bode well.
Kevin's family stated that his vision was very bad, and the fact that his glasses were broken and left behind was a very bad sign, and there's no way he'd be able to make his way around without seeing. Management at the bar told the family that Kevin had entered the bar 4 times the night he went missing. There's an Arby's down the road from the bar that had given the family 2 videos. They show Kevin walking by the restaurant alone, one around 1:40 in the morning, the other around 2:45 in the morning. The Brass Rail has given their surveillance video to detectives.
Yeah, see, this is why it is crazy, Meg. I know you said you used to walk around late at night at university or whatever. Like, never, ever do that. I know you know better now, but it's like, don't ever do that.
After 2
That's so
long
fucking
years
scary,
with no
dude.
word, the family has become less hopeful. Many people believe he had broken his glasses and without his vision simply stumbled into the river and drowned. But if this were the case,
No.
the body would have been found during the multiple searches of the river, or at the very least, the body would have been washed up somewhere by now.
Even if you don't have vision, you're not going to walk
2002,
into a river.
Michaela Lawrence.
It's not like when you lose your glasses, you just lose all motor skills as well, and you just can't even control your body functions. That's not how that works.
12 at the time, and her entire family received news that her father had been in a fatal car accident. His body was barely recognizable from the wreck. The family, of course, opted for a closed casket funeral. A few weeks after the funeral, things started appearing in the mailbox of the Lawrence household. Small packages with Michaela's name written on them. The packages would come once every few weeks. The first package was a small knick-knack type item. It was a decorative model glow-up Big Ben clock statue. It was a familiar piece that Michaela's mother recognized from the house somewhere. A few weeks later, another package came. This package contained an old antique stopwatch from the 50s. It didn't work anymore, but once again, it looked familiar to Michaela's mother. None of the packages said who they were from or where they came from. A few more weeks later, on Michaela's 13th birthday, a card in an envelope ended up in the mailbox, and written on it was Michaela's name again. The card was a happy birthday card, but once again, the mother recognized this card, and the handwriting was familiar. It was the handwriting of her thought-to-be-deceased husband, but it was a card that the couple had given to their daughter years ago, and it was signed Love, Mom and Dad. This confirmed her suspicions that the items that had been arriving in the mail were possessions from the house, those of her husband's. She tried to check the safe in the bedroom closet to see if anything was missing, but mysteriously the safe combination no longer seemed to work no matter how many times she tried. She tried going to the police about the packages at her house, but police couldn't do anything except advise to install some kind of security system. To this day, it's not known who sent the packages or how whoever sent them got a hold of them.
Yeah, how the fuck did that?
Frauke Liebs disappeared on June 20th, 2006 from the town Paderborn in Germany. Her body was found almost 4 months later, on October 4th, 2006. The circumstances of her disappearance are mysterious, especially since she's believed to have made contact with her friends between her disappearance and her death. 2006 was the year of the Football World Cup in Germany. Frauke met with some friends at the Old Triangle Irish pub in downtown Paderborn to watch some of the games. Her mom dropped her off at the pub around 9 p.m. During the Sweden-England match, she exchanged text messages with an acquaintance until the battery of her cell phone ran out. She then borrowed the battery of her friend, but the friend said that she returned the battery before leaving. At about 11 p.m., Frauke left the bar. It's assumed that she walked home because she was said to only have about €5 on her at that point. Her flat was about 1 mile away from the pub. Nobody knows which path she took because nobody saw her after she left the pub. Her flatmate Chris claimed that she never arrived in the flat. At 12:49 a.m., her roommate received a text from Frauke, which stated that she'd be back late. She did not appear at work the following day, and after she was not in the apartment, Frauke's mother reported her missing. Over the next few days, Frauke contacted her roommate 5 times over cell phone. The calls were usually short and during the evening hours, and did not contain a lot of information about her situation. In the first calls, she hinted that she would come back soon, but answered further questions evasively or mysteriously. The last phone call was received on the evening of June 27th.
Yeah, I've heard about similar things like this. My guess is she was abducted, and they made her make this phone call just so her friends would think that she was fine. That's usually what something, like if she's answering questions evasively, if they're asking where she is and stuff, and she's not answering, that sadly is probably what it is.
While Frauke's sister was present. Frauke got asked by her sister if she was held against her will, and she supposedly said yes, but then immediately corrected herself by saying no in a louder tone. After that, the contact of Frauke was lost. According to police, during these phone calls, Frauke's cell phone was in various industrial zones of Paderborn. The police also assumed that the calls were placed from within a car that was driven to those areas. The case was never solved. Jack Wheeler held many important positions throughout his lifetime. He was a chairman for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, a senior planner for Amtrak,
what are they going to say?
an official of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and more.
Starting to learn more optimal combos for some characters in that One Piece game. Situations like cross-up conversion loops, resets, etc. That's cool. Do you have a way to stream it? If you do, you should show it sometime, dude.
Value to his community made it much
Maybe it'll be Ryrog's new obsession.
worse when Jack disappeared on December 28th,
Oh, he
2010,
disappeared.
after exiting an Amtrak near Wilmington, Delaware. He was later seen on December 30th at 10th and Orange Street in Wilmington. On December 31st, his body was discovered by a landfill worker as it fell onto a trash heap in the Cherry Island landfill. His death was later ruled a homicide. His death was ruled to be due to assault and blunt force trauma. It was determined that all of the stops the garbage truck had made that day involved large commercial disposal bins in Newark, a few miles from Jack's home. Prior to Jack's death, he was cited several times. On December 29th, he was cited at the Newcastle County Courthouse parking garage. He was disoriented and wearing only one shoe. He tried to gain access to the garage on foot, claiming that he wanted to warm up before paying the parking fee. He told the attendant that his briefcase had been stolen, and he kept claiming that he wasn't intoxicated, but the attendant didn't believe him. It was later determined that his car was in a different garage. This was the last CCTV footage taken of him. Later that day, Jack asked a pharmacist in Newcastle for a ride to Wilmington. He reportedly looked upset at the time. The pharmacist offered to call him a cab. He then left the store. On December 30th, he was seen wandering around various office buildings. Several people asked if he needed help, but he refused any assistance. This case has still never been solved. Lastly, we have the disappearance of Brian Schaefer.
Do you guys not think that any one of these could have been generated at the This Person Does Not Exist website? That's what's fucking me up right now. You know? Who's to say? Who knows for sure if they're not just generating people for news stories that don't even exist? I mean, these are pretty old. These have happened like 10 plus years ago. But this literally looks like an AI generated face from that site.
2006, Ohio State student Brian Schaefer went into a bar and never came out. He was out with two friends one night and they went to a bar called the Ugly Tuna Saloona. This bar had a front main entrance and a back entrance for staff and
Clever name.
both of which had cameras pointed at them. Around 10 p.m. that night, Brian called his girlfriend to tell her that he loved her. Soon after, Brian is seen on camera entering the bar, and then later seen...
And here's the other thing. I know this is 2006, so the photo quality is not the best, but certain parts are like oddly more pixelated than others, you know what I mean? Makes me wonder if these were doctored.
stepping out of the bar to talk to two girls before going back inside. Minutes before the bar closed and they were preparing to leave, Brian told his friends he was going to talk to the band. Brian walked away out of sight and his friend...
No, I'm just saying, like, the photos themselves. Like, this one looks fine. This is crystal clear. Yeah, I'm not saying about these specifically. I'm just saying, like, newer stuff after this AI generation, face generation technology existed. It always just makes me wonder, you know?
Never seen again. This was not a large bar, and the band does not remember talking to him. On top of it, the cameras never caught him exiting the bar. No one knows what happened.
Yeah, they're all
Brian
completely
after
random.
He walked away from his friends, or how he left the bar, or if he ever did for that matter. An FBI agent who was specialized in facial recognition spent a long time analyzing the security footage of the bar and watched every person who came in and out of the venue. He never identified Brian leaving, but years later, after he had stopped working on the case, he was at an Ohio State football game and saw someone across the crowd that he couldn't help but think looked very much like Brian. In fact, he bore such a resemblance to Brian that the agent had to go and talk to him. It turned out it was Brian's brother, proving just how good the agent's facial recognition abilities were. Brian's girlfriend called his cell phone every day for weeks, and it always went straight to voicemail until one night when it actually rang 3 times, then went to voicemail. This was unexplainable.
I think it can make the same face twice. I know I've refreshed into the same one twice, but I don't know if that's how the site algorithm works. I think it tries to show you a new one every refresh.
The truly weirdest part about this whole thing is that the last footage of Brian was him re-entering the bar. No footage was ever found of him leaving the bar, which has led to theories that he never did leave. To this day, no one knows where he is.
That is bizarre. True office horror stories? Uh-oh, dude. I don't work in an office anymore, but damn. Oh, these are full stories, but yeah.
I work at a game development company in Orlando, Florida.
True water
It's a
bottle horror stories. Yeah, coffee cup horror stories.
Stressful couple of weeks for me, and I was really pressed for time before a game's deadline, so I had to stay at the office late almost every night that week. It was a rainy Wednesday night of that week. It was completely pitch black outside, with the occasional strike of lightning lighting up the place, and the sound of the rain pouring on my office window was helping me concentrate on my coding. There was one other person in the office at this point, my coworker Chaz. He was finishing up on his work as well. He was also pressed for time on the street.
Dude, you know what? At my last company, when I did work in an office, we had like literally anybody could just walk in off the streets. Like they had, you had to swipe your badge to get in the elevator, but you could easily just walk in. Like there was a smoking area. You could just walk in outside there and just walk up the steps and it would just let you in. I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? Literally anybody can just come in here.
By now, it was easily between 8 and 9 o'clock, and Chaz knocked on my office door before telling me he was heading out. He asked if I was okay locking up the place, and I told him of course. Then he was off on his merry way. I heard the front door.
Like, why would you secure the elevator but not the stairs?
And with that, I was alone. Our entire office is in the shape of an L. The entrance is at one end, and my office is down the short line of the L, basically the corner office. I had to keep myself awake as I was starting to doze off, so I went down the hall to the kitchen to heat up some coffee. Just a little bit.
Coffee.
Enough to keep me going for another hour.
Mr. Nightmare pronouncing coffee completes me. One more time.
I had to keep myself awake as I was starting to doze off, so I went down the hall to the kitchen to heat up some coffee. Just a little bit. Enough to keep me going for another hour. I leaned on the counter by the coffee maker, waiting for it to heat up, when I heard this. The sound of a door closing. I peeked my head out into the hall to look and see if anyone was there. I called out, yielding no replies. The door sounded like one of the smaller private office doors, not the heavier front door to the entire office. I left the kitchen to walk down the 2 halls, trying all the doors, which were locked. Then I got to my little hall, and all 3 doors in this hall were shut, including mine. I left that door open 1000%, and there was no draft in here as all the windows were closed. I felt like someone had to still be in the office pranking me. I opened my office door with force, expecting someone to be in there jumping out at me, but no. My office was how I left it. The chair, my computer, everything. It was just a little odd to me that the door closed on its own because it had never done that, but I moved past it and continued my work. The rain continued to hit the window, and the lightning continued to strike about once every minute, startling me a few times actually. Some more time passed, and it was now getting very late to still be in the office.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with the sound as far as I can tell.
With the progress I made, so I saved all of my work and began closing down my computer. I clicked the shutdown button, then turned off the screen. The screen went black, and then I saw it. In the reflection of the computer screen, I saw behind myself a woman standing there. I don't know how I didn't jump or scream, but I felt my heart drop into my stomach. I didn't turn around. I just got up from my desk, calmly grabbed my bag, pretending not to have noticed, and walked to the door. I didn't look back to shut the door or anything. I walked down the hall until I thought I was far enough away. Then I booked it out the exit of the entire office. I then ran down the flight of stairs to the first floor, then out to my car in the rain. The whole time I was terrified I was being followed, or that she would grab me any second, whoever it was. Once I got in my car, I took a second to breathe. Then I looked up at the window to my office. The light was still on in there, and I'm quite sure I saw a small kink in the blinds, as if someone were on the other side looking down at me. I called one of my bosses, Miranda.
Ooh, I love this imagery.
And she confirmed no one else should have been there. She said she'd call the night security guy and ask him to check the office. Luckily, I got to go the hell home. Later that night, Miranda called me and said the security guy was in the office but didn't see anyone. I told her what I saw one more time, and it freaked even her out. There's only one camera in our entire office, and it's at the end of the longer hall by the kitchen area. The camera footage never caught any woman walking around the office that night.
That was a cool story. That was awesome. Nice story, whoever submitted that one. I don't know if I believe you, but cool story.
A long time ago, I did security work in an office building in Midtown Manhattan. It was mid-November, so one of the offices was looking to start decorating their office space with Christmas decorations, which were held in the basement along with other storage. I usually stood in the lobby area of the building just as general security. It was usually an uneventful job for the most part. But on this cold November Monday, my view of this job changed entirely. An employee of this dermatology office on one of the upper levels of the building apparently had gone down to the basement and had reported that all the lights were out and that the elevator wasn't running to the basement floor. This sounded like the electrician's job, until I was also told that there were multiple broken-in doors down there, implying a break-in over the weekend. That's when it became my job to go down there and investigate.
Jesus, yeah, this is horrible.
Since the elevator wasn't going down to that level, I would have to take the stairs down there. I was going down there alone since I was the only security guard on duty that day. I took a flashlight with me down there since the power was out. I'd be lying if I said this wasn't nerve-wracking going down there alone. On this level was just storage, electrical components, and janitorial.
Fuck me. Yeah, I would not do
It was
that.
a small maze of corridors with different rooms, and navigating this in the dark with nothing but a flashlight was making the hairs on my body stand up. There were different doors in the corridors, which would lead to different storage rooms for many of the different businesses that rented office spaces in the building. And the call turned out to be true. Many of these doors were bashed in. Some of them were so badly damaged that they looked like they were destroyed with an axe. This was more serious than I thought. I was just a security guard. I didn't make enough money to go searching for potentially dangerous people in the basement.
Yeah,
without a
exactly.
gun.
Holy shit.
I looked into each room with broken down doors, but each room still seemed to be full with supplies. I couldn't find any trace of theft, but someone clearly came down here with a purpose. I continued looking into the rooms, just peeking in for a second with my flashlight. Then I heard a slam elsewhere in the basement. And suddenly everything went dead silent. The basement noises I was hearing before, from whatever they may have been coming from, a boiler, the pipes, whatever it was, stopped. And I was now in a dead silent basement where I could hear every last sound. Every footstep I took now sounded 10 times louder. Someone was in the basement still.
I was gonna say
by that slam. It may have been another door. It may have been whatever caused the noises to stop. Stupidly, I called out, "Anyone here?" and my voice echoed down the corridor. I continued slowly back the way I came. I wasn't staying down there another moment. This was a job for NYPD at this point. I was almost to the stairs when I heard this heavy breathing coming up from around the final corner. I instantly knew it to be heavy breathing. I was scared shitless. Why was I put in this situation?
Right here.
I turned off my flashlight and tiptoed just a little closer to look around the corner, and weirdly the breathing stopped. I said one hello, then turned the flashlight back on. Even though the light wasn't aimed exactly in that direction,
It was like Call of
I still
Duty.
easily saw this extremely tall, hunched over figure facing the wall with some kind of long object that could have been a weapon in his hand. I say his because there was no way a person this big and this stature could have been a woman. I also saw their face turn in reaction to the light. It was this pale, abnormally long face.
Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty.
Another reason I say it was a man, but I didn't look too long. I ran past the figure to the stairs, screaming back at him that the cops are coming, you need to leave now. I ran all the way back up the stairs, through the basement door, then locked it and called 911. A bunch of NYPD cars came, and it was a big thing. At least 4 police officers went down there. I felt pretty useless, I have to say, but removing a dangerous, armed, giant human from the basement with the lights off was not in my job description. I was in the lobby when the officers came back, alone.
Didn't see anybody.
They didn't have that person I saw with them. They couldn't find him. One of the building's electricians came to fix the electrical issues in the basement. It had something to do with the circuit box in the basement being tampered with. With the lights back on, police still couldn't find anyone down there. There are multiple stairways back upstairs from the basement, which he may have left through. Everyone believed what I saw, though. Those doors didn't smash themselves open. I took sick days the next few days, and every night for a week, I'd lay awake, constantly checking around my room in the dark, scared I'd see some giant figure standing in one of the corners.
This is a really cool video so far.
I held my first job ever in 2002, and I worked at a call center during the graveyard shift.
Wait, this is an office? How was that last one an office horror story? That was a night security horror story. Far from office. Gotta figure out how to unlock the rest of the characters. Where is this anyway? This looks like I'm not good with cities. I would have said like Shanghai or something.
And it was a new site. The office layout was kind of in an elongated donut shape, with the donut hole being the elevator lobby / main doors, and the actual office space composed of 2 long hallways and 2 shorter ones. It was also a new site, so only half the office was finished, and the other half was still under renovation. So one long half of the donut was a fully operational production floor with managers' offices and a pantry, while the other long half was reserved for things like conference rooms, the nurse's office, storage, other admin stuff, restrooms, etc. And it was all unfinished. The conference room still had concrete floors, and wires were still sticking out from sockets and all that. While the production half was nice and bright and well lit, as any call center should be, the other half was only partially lit. To make matters worse, the guards would turn off the lights completely on that side, since they figured nobody was using it anyway. As a result, people didn't really hang out on that side of the office, and if you needed to use the restroom, you just kinda had to make a mad dash to and from it. 2 weeks into production, and my teammate, who was obviously very sickly to begin with, had a terrible migraine, and I suggested that she tell our team leader about it so that she could take a break. TL then told her to go visit the nurse's office, located in the unfinished half of the office, something we figured out only because of the sign above the door that we see whenever we go to the restroom. I was to accompany her, so that's what we did. We walked to the nurse's office, but found that the door was locked and nobody was inside, even though the lights were on. The door was the type with one of those vertical window panels on it, so we peeked in to make sure nobody was in there. We saw all the medical equipment and a sick bed, a desk, basically everything you'd expect to find in there, except the nurse. Thinking maybe he or she just went on break, we decided we'll just come back later. After half an hour or so, we did go back, only to find that the light at the nurse's office was off. I remember us being pretty pissed off at the thought that maybe the shift nurse had gone home, but we checked the door anyway to see if maybe there would be a sign or note with the nurse's schedule or whatever.
Cappuccino.
I don't know why I did it, but I tried the door handle despite being aware there was no light.
Yeah, I was expecting a Mia like jump scare
to find that there was no nurse's office, despite the sign above the door saying that that's where it was supposed to be. And yes, that was the only sign. We checked over and over to make sure it was the right room. We were sure it was the same room we visited earlier. But instead of a decked out clinic, we found a room with a small night light in an exposed socket that cast only enough light for us to see the walls and floors were concrete. There were no finishes, no beds, no cabinets, nothing. It's like we dreamed up the clinic we saw earlier. A guard approached us at that point, asking what we were doing poking around in an unfinished clinic. So we told him what happened, and he of course thought we were making it up. While we were kind of trying to convince him that we weren't lying, we all suddenly stopped talking. When we felt the temperature just drop, we shivered. Our hair stood on end.
This just sounds like somebody telling a ghost story.
Nobody could speak for a minute. Finally, my teammate burst into hysterical tears, and the guard then nervously shooed us away and locked the door to the supposed nurse's office. We were escorted back to our team's bay, and we explained what happened to our team leader. He pretty much just sat there stunned as he listened to us. Since my teammate wouldn't stop crying and was starting to hyperventilate very badly, they had to send her to Makati Med. The incident was never brought up again.
I don't believe that one for a second.
If you're a fan of horror, which...
The third story was definitely the best one. I like how he puts true in the... Oh, Let's Read is still popping off. Let's go. I got to sub to this guy. I love this guy.
Mark Chang-soo is alive.
I love this guy's voice, man.
I know you are.
Yeah, that one just, I don't know. That one didn't really do it for me. Tinder matches from hell. Disturbing true warehouse stories. Crazy best friend. You know, I did see. Look, that's the stamp miss ending thumbnail. There's a few that I absolutely could not watch, like this one. Gym horror stories? Not getting enough gains. Wow, 5 years, man. His thumbnails used to be so cringy. Creepy ass true stories. Dude, his thumbnails used to be so cringe like this one. He used this again. Some of his videos got removed as well. I don't know why. Craigslist horror stories as well. I want to do the Tinder one, man. I want to do the Tinder one. Okay. Thank you guys for reporting the TikTok account.
Over Tinder and other dating apps countless times on this channel, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you 3
All right, if this gets tossed, we'll stop. And then we'll play something, okay?
matches that went completely wrong or almost did, and their backstories. This was the Tinder match between a guy named Chaz and who he thought were 2 girls around his age. This is how the conversation went. My friend and I think you're really cute. I hope your friend is also a girl, LOL. She is silly. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Where are you ladies from? Then they share their locations, which aren't far. The other profile asks, are you busy tonight? Yes, I am. I'll be hanging with you 2. Yes, want to come around 10? Yeah, where do you live? Wait, actually our parents are both home. Want to meet at the park? We can find a place to hang there. I guess we can do that. My parents are home too, damn. What time should we meet there, 10? Yes. Okay, what are your numbers? Let's just message on here until we meet. Damn, I see how it is. Gotta earn your trust. Yes, we're heading over now, okay? Okay, Sam, I'll probably be there like 10:10.
Can I? Okay.
Perfect.
Minor grievance, but for the love of God, Apple, can you stop with this bright blue and white theme you got going on here? Like, why can we not get a night mode on this shit?
Where exactly in the parks do you want to meet? We can meet by the statue on the dirt path. It's like a dog walking path. No one will be there this late. Then we could find a better spot from there together. Okay, I looked it up. I think I know how to get there. I'll message you when I'm there, okay? Okay. Chaz then arrives to the destination in the park, and he sends a message saying he's here. He follows it up with, this is kind of creepy, are you guys here? And then a subsequent question mark. This was the last message he sent the profile before it unmatched him, and then he was left alone in the woods in the park on a dirt path completely void of any people. Chaz knew at this point that he had been tricked, but he didn't know just yet if he was just pranked or if he had walked into a trap.
Jesus.
Then he started to hear noises in the woods, like the snapping of twigs and leaves on the ground, indicating he was being watched. He already had his phone out, using it as a flashlight to navigate his way to the agreed meetup point. So at this point he decided to start recording for his own protection. This was the footage he captured.
Oh, he actually... Oh. I didn't know it was actually going to show footage. But if I was recording, I'd be fucking running back to the car, dude. I would be fucking sprinting harder than I've ever sprinted my entire life. Yeah.
In this footage, you can easily see that as he pointed his light into the woods where he heard another sound, it revealed someone in the woods, who then started to run out from the trees and chase after Chaz. While running, Chaz stopped recording to turn off the flashlight, then ran into the trees to hide. He started recording again when he thought he had lost the person chasing him. He kept recording the rest of his way out of the park and back to his car to have video evidence of anything in case of a worst case scenario. Luckily, Chaz made it back to his car and home in one piece. He tried reporting the profile to Tinder just based off the screenshots he took, but Tinder got back to him saying they're unable to find any profiles that match the description or pictures.
Deleted it.
Chaz was obviously not wise to enter a suspicious situation like this. The other profiles' refusal to give their number, as well as meeting anyone for the first time in a park by the woods at night where nobody else would be around, are two major red flags that this was some kind of trap. He was lucky to have gotten away.
I didn't know there'd be actual footage of it, though.
This second match is more on the bizarre side. The girl who submitted this to me wasn't the one to match this profile. Rather, it was her friend Maddie. The profile was titled Invincibles. And it claimed to be some guy.
Oh no. Win money kicking nuts. Snap paid nut kickers. What the fuck?
Or rather, a pair of people, including this Chelsea person, who would pay someone to kick the man in the picture in his groin. This is the story in the girl's words. One of my best friends, a girl named Maddie, was on Tinder one day when she stumbled upon this account. It was supposedly
Oh god, what is this fucking mask? That's disturbing.
Dedicated to finding people to kick a guy in the groin for a payment of between $50 and $100. Of course, my friend, needing money because of the pandemic and such, swiped right on him. He quickly messaged her back that there were several people involved in this, including a girl named Chelsea. We're not sure if they were even actually real to this day. We live in a small town in Pennsylvania, and this account was listed in a couple towns over in Clearfield. My friend Maddie was of course a bit skeptical about this, so she messaged me so that she could come have some sort of backup when she went to do this. The account stated that they were doing this for a YouTube video, and the guy who was being kicked had lost a bet at a bar a couple weekends before. I agreed to accompany my friend because I also was a bit skeptical, but I had enough confidence that I could protect her if things happened to go south. The next day, after my friend agreed to meet with the people, we set off towards Clearfield. The address the account gave us led to a random hotel in Clearfield, which already sort of creeped us out.
Yeah, no.
The whole setting seemed off, and I'd better include that my friend Maddie had never mentioned that she'd be bringing anyone with her. We arrived at the hotel and sat for maybe an hour, if not a little less, waiting for the person to get back to us. They ended up saying that they would be a little late, and to sit tight. After the prolonged waiting, the person eventually mentioned that they were back in town. Instead of meeting at the hotel, they suggested that we just come straight to their house instead. Already I was feeling a little off, but I had confidence that I could defend my friend against any harm that may have came her way. So we set off to this guy's house, and in under 10 minutes, we eventually made it there.
What are they doing? What are you guys doing? This is such a horrible decision. What are you doing?
Relieved, as the address he gave us led to a big, normal-looking house, right next to the main road. But upon further investigation, there was a creepy-looking shed behind the house, with an even creepier-looking man peering from out the side of the door to the shed. My friend Maddie parked in front of the shed, and she told me to wait in the car, which immediately screamed the worst things to me, but I trusted her to read the situation and know what she was doing.
What?
After all, getting paid money to kick some random guy in the nuts, it sounded like a dream. The guy left his shed, looking even creepier than before. He was skin and bones with hair hanging past his shoulders. He also seemed nervous and twitchy, not at all like the guy in the Tinder profile. I heard her ask him, "Hey, I brought my friend along just as a precaution, is that okay?" And in that instant, I watched his expression drop, which screamed another red flag to me. He stuttered out, "Yeah, that's fine, I guess."
What the hell is this? What the fuck is this whole situation?
Car and followed her, knife in my pocket, in a hurry, and we stepped inside the shed, to which point I immediately began to regret mine and her decisions up until that point. The shed was filthy. It was cluttered with random items and boxes, with the toilet sitting in the corner. The guy, who I quickly realized must be an addict by the way he was acting, very nervous and twitchy, was now standing solemnly in the corner, setting up his laptop to record this event. We made some very awkward small talk as he was doing this, at which point I noticed something else that bothered me. This random guy had Snapchat installed on his computer, which is what his friend Chelsea was messaging us from. I could just be paranoid, but something about this told me that he was actually Chelsea, and he needed another
No
device
shit.
to Snapchat her on to make it seem like he was someone else. After he set it up to record, he seemed angry and tense, as if he didn't actually think he was going to get kicked in the groin that day. He turned around and my friend went about her business with him, and promptly after he asked in a shallow voice, "So what are you guys doing tonight? Do you guys smoke?" referring to weed. We both quickly replied no, and that we had other things going on, despite the fact that we both do smoke. Maddie quickly collected the cash from him and we left. Now this might not all seem off to a regular person, but I can't help but feel like if I wasn't there, then something bad would have happened. After we left, my friend had mentioned that before we got there, this alleged Chelsea person had offered to rent a hotel room and buy her pizza. I don't like to think about what would have happened if I wasn't there, but deep down I know that something way more malicious had been planned.
Yeah, that just... What the fuck, dude? Why?
Based off the girl's recounting of this event, it's safe to assume that the man in the picture wasn't the same guy that they met in the shed, and that this Chelsea person didn't exist. Maddie and her friend were smart to go into the situation together, as there's always more safety in numbers.
Why did they go in the shed, first of all? That could have been the end of it right there.
This last one is another example of why you can never be too careful with online dating. This was submitted by Jeremy, and this was his Tinder match. He matched with a girl named Mia, who was in the same high school class as him. Their conversation went as follows. "Hey, long time no see." "I know, hey.
How
have you been?"
I don't even know what to say about that.
"I've been good, just working a crap ton." "You still talking to anyone from high school?" "No, not really.
This
I was
is how
happy
Ethan
for high
met
school
Mia.
to be over." "Same. It's funny we only ever really spoke a few times in school." "Yeah, I know. Maybe we should make up for lost time." "Maybe we should. Do you have a
What
snap?"
is this?
From here, Jeremy gives Mia his snap, and they continue their conversation there. Jeremy didn't take any screenshots from the snap conversation, but basically from there, they continued to talk about...
Actually, this is scary because a girl that I went to high school with, she didn't message me, but a girl that I went to high school with recently found out that someone had made a fake Instagram account and was just impersonating her, DMing a whole bunch of her friends. Just made a completely fake profile that's not run by her at all. Stole all of her pictures. And everybody thought it was her. Until she was like, everybody report this account because I have no idea who this is or who did this. So that could be what's happening here.
life after high school. Then they escalated to talking about linking up somewhere and chatting in person. They agreed to meet in a nearby parking lot behind a strip mall where nobody goes at night. Jeremy was ready to go basically right away, not needing much time to get ready. Mia, on the other hand, said she wouldn't be able to get there for another hour and a half at least. She claimed she was with friends and couldn't just ditch them, so they set up a meetup time for 12 behind the strip mall. It took Jeremy only 5 minutes to get there, as the lot is in the same town that the two live. He sat there in his car waiting for her for about 20 minutes, receiving apologies for being late every few minutes on Snapchat. Eventually, headlights appeared from around the corner and approached slowly, then stopped not too far from Jeremy's car. Mia snapped him a picture of his car saying, "I think I see you." So Jeremy stepped out from his car.
Jesus, this is not going to be her.
Then realized the car looked to be a small Honda or Hyundai, when in reality the car that was posted all over Mia's Instagram was a Jeep Cherokee. Immediately, Jeremy went back into his car and went to DM Mia on Instagram. Meanwhile, the car outside was honking at Jeremy. He opened Snap and messaged her, "Hey, step out from your car and let me see you for a second." They opened it, took half a minute to reply, then said, "I don't want to, it's so cold out, what's wrong?"
Uh-oh.
At this point, Jeremy knew
Catfish.
something was off, so he got in his car and started driving home. But the car was following him, honking the horn.
Oh, God.
Jeremy decided to get on the highway, at which point the car behind him tailed off and disappeared. Jeremy pulled to the side of the road to block the Snapchat account, but they had already beaten him to it. He went home, and by then he had gotten a DM back from the actual Mia. This is how their conversation went. Jeremy opened with this. "Hey, this may sound really, really weird, but did I match you on Tinder?"
Oh, no.
She says,
Immediately
"I
said
know,
no.
Why?" "Jesus, long story. I matched someone catfishing as you, and we talked for a while about high school. I really thought it was you. I met up with the person running the account in a parking lot, but it was some random car, not your Jeep, so I drove
What the
away."
fuck is
Then he
wrong
sent
with people,
screenshots of the
man?
conversation. This is another familiar lesson to be more cautious about who you're meeting online, and to always make sure you have proof that the person you're planning on meeting is actually who they say they are.
Wow, that one actually, that was the scariest one yet. That was the scariest one yet. We have to watch another one of these now. Now I'm addicted. Now I'm addicted. Just one more. Uno mas. Uno mas.
I'm very anti-dating apps, but I guess I'm biased because of the nightmarish experience I had with Tinder.
Huh?
I've only met up with 3 people ever
Oh,
on
this.
Tinder. The first
Okay, I thought this was like Mr. Nightmare speaking from his own experience. I was like, wait. Tell us more, Mr. Nightmare. What did you... And then it turned out that he was just talking from the perspective of the person that told the story. Anyways.
Experiences were nothing special. I wasn't excited about either of the girls, and there were no second dates. But compared to the third meetup, oh boy, in comparison, the first 2 went phenomenally.
I would say, sorry to pause, I would say just keep 2 points of contact if you are suspicious that someone might be catfishing. Because like I said, this girl that I went to high school with, she runs a tattoo shop now, and someone flat out made like a really in-depth Instagram that really looked like it could have been her. Like it was a completely fake account, not run by her, but they stole all of her pictures from her Facebook and other stuff, and it literally looked like it. Like people were following it thinking that it was really her. They were DMing it. They were just talking to her about whatever. And then one day she said, she posted on Facebook that it was a fake account and that people needed to report it. But how long was that account active before people found that out? You know what I mean? Who knows what kind of private information people might have talked about on there. So it's fucked up, man. You got to have like 2 or if not 3 points of contact with every person you talk to just to 100% verify that it is them, especially if it's somebody that you know in real life already and you find they have a profile.
Named Annette. She had up 4 pictures, 3 of which she was posing alone in what looked like her backyard. The 4th one was in front of a pond. At the time, I didn't see it as a red flag that she was alone in all of her pictures. Honestly, why would I? But she was decently attractive, at least in my standards. So I talked to her, and it got to the point where she asked what I was doing that night. And when I said nothing, she asked if she could come over and hang out.
Oh no.
Considering my bedroom in my parents' house is in the basement with a separate entrance, it would work out rather nicely. We set a time for her to come over. When the time came, she texted me literally right on the dot that she was outside. Punctual, to say the least. I let her in the side basement door entrance, and we walked downstairs. I tried to make the greeting not awkward, but right off the bat, first impression, she seemed weird. Her responses were short, her laugh was weird. When we sat down on the bed and I asked her how long the drive was, she laughed. Like, she didn't even answer my question. She just laughed like I told a joke. And as she laughed, she looked right at me, her eyes still open wide. It was uncomfortable, and I already knew I wasn't going to vibe with this girl. I wanted her out ASAP. I turned the TV on in the background for filler, and I pretended to be laughing at the TV because of the constant awkward silences.
Jesus, man.
Never once batted an eye.
And the thing that's fucked up is she already knows where you live. It's like you've already fucked up at this point. You can't just go somewhere else now. She knows where you fucking live.
To look at the TV. She just watched me the whole time. I was able to wrap it up quickly by pretending I got a text about going into work early the next day, and I implied I needed to go to sleep. She seemed like she didn't want to leave. It was extremely awkward. But I managed to get her to follow me out the basement door. When she was finally gone, I had to ask myself, what did I just put myself through? Not even 5 minutes after she left, she texted me, "Are you sure you have to go to bed? I was having fun."
Oh, God.
I read the text and sighed.
Oh, no.
I threw my phone on the bed to charge while I went to get food upstairs.
Let me be clear. It can be men or women. Okay? There's no distinction. They're not mutually exclusive, but I have met women like this, and they are scary.
When I got back,
trust me, men are just as bad.
2 being question marks,
if not worse.
The last one being hello with more question marks. This girl was clearly nuts, so I blocked her.
Yeah, and literally anybody can be a creep. It does not matter.
I went to bed an hour later. I woke in the middle of the night, like I often do. I'm a light sleeper. It's really annoying. Waking up randomly isn't weird for me. I instinctively felt around for my phone to check what time it was. But
Please.
my phone wasn't by its normal spot on the ledge charging, and I 100% remembered putting it there.
Please don't
So
say
I got
she's
up and started looking around for my phone. I turned on the bedside strip of red LED lights I had hung on the wall to light up the room just a bit. I couldn't find it though, and I'm kind of the person who will let that bother me until I find it. I went upstairs to grab the landline phone and bring it down so I could call my number. When I dialed my number, I heard it ringing from inside the boiler/laundry room.
Oh
which was
no.
connected to my room. I entered the boiler room, and there was my phone left on the washer machine, causing the entire machine to vibrate as it rang. I knew this was bizarre because I didn't do laundry that night. I didn't even remember going in there. I picked up my phone to see a bunch of new messages from some random number. I opened the texts to see 2 pictures of me sleeping.
Oh my
Above
god.
the pictures were 2 texts saying, "Nice, good job blocking me." The second one saying, "Lock your door next time." And I realized what an idiot I was, that I was so anxious to get her out of my room that I didn't even lock the door when she left. Then I can't say for certain, but I felt like I wasn't alone in the room. Like I just felt another presence, and I had a feeling that she may have been hiding behind the cylinder boiler in the darkest corner of the room. But I didn't go look. I went upstairs to get my parents and call the police. Given that the girl was dumb enough, or crazy enough, to leave a digital footprint, tracking her and getting charges pressed on her was easy.
Holy
Her
fucking
name
shit.
wasn't even Annette. Her real name was Sylvana.
Oh
The charges
god.
were a breaking and entering charge and a stalking and harassment charge. I of course got a restraining order, and I've never heard from that girl again.
Holy fucking shit. That's bad. And you'll think about that forever.
I've tried all the major dating apps, and I never really have much luck on them. My friend told me he was having luck on this app, Hot or Not, so I gave it a
god.
try. And right
Your friend is an asshole. That app is terrible.
off the bat, I was getting a lot more likes, albeit from girls I didn't really find attractive at all. Still, on my first batch of free swipes, I matched this one cute blonde girl named Julia. I'll spare the details of our conversation, but it went excitingly well. It was one of those rare matches where the girl was attractive and very receptive to my messages, seeming like she was actually enjoying talking to me. We quickly moved to Snapchat. I asked her for her number, but she said let's talk on Snapchat instead. I was fine with that. I added her on Snap and she added me back. Her Snap score was low, like under 1,000, so right away I was suspicious and upset that this may have been too good to be true like I thought. She messaged me, and I messaged back being blunt, asking her to snap a selfie of herself just for my safety. I told her there's a lot of catfish profiles going on, so I can't be too careful. She opened the message right away, but didn't reply for a minute. I thought for sure the account was going to block me any second, but instead, to my surprise, I got a notification that I got a snap from Julia. I opened the snap, and it was the same blonde-haired girl from the pictures. Still, I wasn't convinced. So I asked her to give me a thumbs up or a peace sign.
Oh, that's, yeah.
She opened the chat. I was waiting to see if she'd block me this time. She didn't respond for a couple minutes, until finally, she sent another snap. I opened it, and it was half her face smiling, holding up a peace sign. That was enough for me. I snapped her back, and then we messaged for a little while. We eventually made plans to hang out. She invited me over to her house, which was across town, not too far away. She said she was home alone and that it wouldn't be a problem. She gave me an exact address. I noticed she had her Snap map on, so I did a little check to make sure her address matched her Snap location, and it seemed to check out. I told her I'd be over in a few. I changed into decent clothes, sprayed on some cologne, combed my hair, and got in my car to head over. I remember thinking I may have overdid it with the cologne. She snapped me while I was driving, asking if I was on the way. I told her yes.
Dude, this is so nerve-wracking. Why do people do this, man? Fuck. Call me old-fashioned, but like, why would you go through all this just for a date? You know, checking to even see if the person's real. I know, you know, I can't, dude. I can't even wrap my head around it. Why would you go through all this fucking nerve-wracking tension just to, I don't know.
I read it immediately, but didn't respond. I got to the house. It had the number 22 written clear as day next to the door. I messaged her that I'm here. She didn't open the snap though, so I decided to just go ring the bell. There were no cars in the driveway, and the grass seemed like it hadn't been cut in a few weeks. I rang the bell, but she didn't answer, so I started knocking really loud. When she still didn't answer, I went back to Snap and tried calling her using that. It just kept ringing though, she didn't answer. Was I just pranked? I suddenly heard a woman's voice yelling something at me across the street. For some reason, I imagined it to be Julia at first, till I realized it was an older woman yelling, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" I began walking back to the street and called back, "I'm meeting someone." She said back to me at a lower volume now that we were closer that I have the wrong house, nobody lives there. I asked the address of the house, and the address she told me matched the address this Julia girl gave me. I thanked her and got in my car. I went to try to message Julia one more time, but she blocked me. I felt like I was played for a fool. They unmatched me on Hot or Not too. Luckily, I took screenshots of the profile before that, because I sent some to one of my friends before driving to the house. When I got home, I sent screenshots to my friend group chat with like 8 other people, asking if anyone knew her. One guy, my friend Darren, said that's Lisa, a girl who overdosed on heroin 2 years back. When he said that, another friend in the group chat confirmed he was right.
What?
I got goosebumps.
They
because the
catfished
snaps I
the
got
dead.
were from a girl who matched that Lisa girl completely. I told my friends, and they thought either I was crazy or the situation was crazy. I'm without a doubt certain the girl in those snaps was Lisa. How this happened, I have no earthly idea. Better question, why was I led to that house? I can't even try to imagine.
That's fucked up. Imagine if that lady wasn't there as well.
In high school, I was in a big graduating class, so for that reason, I didn't get to know a lot of my classmates on a personal level. Using dating apps in college, though, I was able to match and kind of connect with a lot of the girls I'd never really spoken to back in high school. I was using my app of choice when I matched this girl, Maria. She was in my grade in high school. I followed her on Instagram and Snap already, but I never really got to know her in high school. I sent her the first message and asked her how she'd been. I talked to her about high school a lot and how it was funny that we never really spoke or had any classes together. She said we should hang out that night. I asked if she'd want to meet somewhere for drinks or food, but she said she's down to just come hang at my place if that's cool. Honestly, I like that idea even better. I told her sure. She asked if my parents were home. I told her no, only my sister. Then I gave her my address. She said she'd let me know when she's on her way. Then it was just a waiting game. I waited and waited for the notification saying Maria sent you a new message. In fact, it was going on past an hour.
I wonder how much of this is about the date and how much of it is people that are thirsty, you know what I mean? Because God knows people will do some crazy stuff for sex. Hookups and whatnot, but
I sent a follow-up message on Tinder, but she didn't reply. A few minutes later, I checked her Instagram page and saw she posted a story a few minutes ago. It was a meme. Was she ignoring me now? I checked her Snap story, which was posted within half an hour.
Need more water.
She was apparently with her friend, another girl from our high school. I didn't understand. Was she coming or not? I commented on her story. Are you still coming later? She opened it a few minutes later and replied saying, "What are you talking about?" I repeated the question, then added a reference to the conversation on the app. She replied, "I don't have that app. Send me the profile."
Oh God,
so I did.
catfished again.
She told me right away it was a catfish and to report it. I did so, and I think Tinder automatically unmatched the profile after that. But I wasn't concerned about someone using this girl's pictures. I was concerned someone had my address and knew my parents weren't home.
Oh, true. Oh my God.
Every door was locked. I truly was expecting something to happen that night, but it was getting pretty late, and I was starting to feel a little more relaxed. When my guard was down, that's when it happened. A horrific scream from my little sister's room. I jumped off the couch to go run to her room. She opened the door just as I made it to the room, and we met at the doorway. She had this horrified look on her face, like she just saw a demon. She screamed that there's someone outside her window. I couldn't believe it. She ran upstairs while I went to her window to confirm it. There was no one out there now, but I knew it wasn't a coincidence. I tried to call my parents, but I couldn't get a hold of either of them. My sister slept in my room with me that night because she was scared. I only went to bed after waiting downstairs for an hour, listening for anything possible. When I was finally in bed, that was when I heard a noise. My sister heard it too, because we both sat up at the exact same time. Our parents weren't supposed to be back that night. I went to lock the bedroom door and then got 911 on the phone. I whispered into the phone that I was certain we were currently the victims of a break-in. I told my sister to be quiet when she started making crying noises. Footsteps approached the door, then someone tried twisting the doorknob. Then they I started banging on the door. And in a deep, angry-sounding voice, a man said, "I know you're in there. I can smell you." The 911 operator heard it, and she told me to hide in the closet with my sister. I waved my sister over to the closet, and she came. We sat in there quietly the best we could, but he kept banging and banging on the door, and my sister cracked. She cried out, "The police are coming, leave us alone." The banging stopped, and we heard the man laugh. Then there was silence. Next thing we knew, the police were outside, and the operator told me to quickly get to the front door if the coast was clear to let the police in. The police then did a thorough investigation of the house,
Didn't find
which
him.
was clear. The entry and exit point was my parents' bedroom window, which he climbed through off the backyard awning. My little sister screaming about the police must have scared him off. The police recommended we sleep somewhere else, so we went to my friend Joe's house. Ever since then, I always verify whoever I'm talking to from online is actually who they say they are.
Holy shit, man. Yeah, that would probably do it. That would probably do it. That's why I say I'm glad to not be on dating apps, but at the same time, I'm not going to lie. Some of these were user error. Never, ever. It doesn't matter. Yes, I understand. I've said this before that the internet used to be a lot scarier than it is now. In the sense of, you know, back then you didn't know who the fuck you were dealing with. Everything was just screen names. There's a lot of pictures now, but, you know, impersonations and catfishing is still just as common, if not more common. So, yeah, never. And the other thing is never meet at your house. Never meet at their house. Always meet at a public place. I can smell your aqua velva. Always meet at like a fucking, you know, go to a cafe, go to a fucking, I don't know, dude. Just go to a fucking Starbucks. Go anywhere that's in public.